So in the last session, just we covered in the last classes, just we covered about overloading, overriding, inheritance, encapsulation, like all major concepts of OOPs we covered already, right? Now there are two more OOP features we have to discuss, but these are at basic level very minor importance is there. But whenever we are talking about advanced level, like frameworks level, so MVC, struts level or Spring level, like high level design, these two OOP features play very important role. Okay, Tisha? But at our level, at our basic level, just you should aware the basic terminology first. But once we are going for struts level, okay, Hibernate, I mean frameworks level or web application or enterprise application designing level, these two OOP features also play very role. Okay, this is make sure advanced OOP features are these two. So the first feature what we have to discuss, okay, coupling. The first feature coupling, and then we will talk about cohesion, right? These two are also OOP features only. Okay, this say don't feel sir encapsulation, polymorphism and inheritance are the only OOP features. No, these are also OOP features only. Okay, this but a bit advanced. These are not basic OOP features, right? Advanced OOP features are coupling and cohesion. Okay, can you tell, keep submitting coupling first. Coupling. Sir, can you tell when we say that, so what is coupling? So in your academics, in the computer networks area, you people may heard loosely coupling, tightly coupling, like so in the networks, computer networks area, these words are very common: loosely coupling, tightly coupling, like. So what is coupling? What is coupling? Sir, here best example, suppose I want to measure height. I want to measure height. What is the measurement? Meters or centimeters or feet, some measurement is there. I want to measure milk, then what is the measurement? Liters. Okay, sir, I want to measure, okay, this is weight, kgs. Sir, 2 kgs rice or 3 kgs rice, like kgs are there. Sir, I want to measure temperature, then what is the measurement? Temperature, I want to measure temperature, degree centigrade, Fahrenheit, like we have some. Sir, to measure dependency, are you getting? To measure dependency between the components, what is the measurement? Is nothing but coupling. Are you getting right? The degree of dependency between the components is called coupling. If more dependency is there, tightly coupled with each other. If lesser dependency is there, loosely coupled with each other. Are getting? The degree of dependency between the components is called what? Coupling. Is it clear for all of you? Right? So what is coupling? The degree of dependency between the components is called coupling. So loosely coupling, tightly coupling, only two options. If the dependency is the less, loosely coupling. If dependency is the more, tightly coupling. Are you getting that? There are just two levels of dependency is there: loosely coupling, tightly coupling, right? So which coupling is a good programming practice? That part I will discuss. First, adapt to this. The degree of dependency between the components. The degree of dependency between the components. The degree of dependency between the components. The degree of dependency between the components is called, the degree of dependency between the components is called coupling. The degree of dependency between the components is called coupling. The degree of dependency between the components is called coupling. Okay, now take a bit special care. If more dependency is there, then it is considered as what? Tightly coupling. If lesser dependency is there, then it is considered as what? Loosely coupling. Are you getting? Add. If dependency is more, then it is considered as. If dependency is more, then it is considered as tightly coupling, tightly coupling. If dependency is more, then it is considered as a tightly coupling. Tightly coupling. And if dependency is less, and if dependency is less, and if dependency is less, then it is considered as loosely coupling. Then it is considered as loosely coupling. Then it is considered as loosely coupling. Loosely coupling. Then it is considered as loosely coupling. Okay, like so. What is coupling? What is a tightly coupling? What is a loosely coupling? Clear, right? Now just let me take a simple example. So tightly coupling, loosely coupling, which is a good programming practice. Okay, here just observe. Sir, I am taking a simple example here. Observe. I am taking class A. Here observe class A. Sir, I am taking here static. I am taking one int, static int I. One static variable I am taking. The value of I is b dot j. Static int I is equal to b dot j. Now I am taking class B, static int j. Static int j is equal to c dot k. Have you observed? C dot k. Static int j is equal to c dot k. Like now class C I am taking. Class C I am taking. Next static int k is equal to, static int k is equal to d dot m1 method. D dot m1 method, right? Now so sir, in the D class there is one method m1 is there, static method. That method returns some value. That value will be k value, right? Okay, now let me take class D in the public static int m1, public static int m1 return 10, like I am taking. Are you getting? So total how many components are there? 4 components are there. The value of I is B class J value. The value of J is C class K value. The value of K is D class M1 return type. Is nothing but like we have. Now I can use one word. These components are tightly coupled with each other. Tightly coupled, because the reason is dependency between these components is more. Is nothing but these components are said to be tightly coupled. Correct or not? Okay, this is tightly coupled with each other, right? Tightly coupled. Now my question is tightly coupling, loosely coupling, which is a good programming practice. Tightly coupling is the worst programming practice. What is the reason? Is because it has n number of problems are there. Because tightly coupling, sir, if dependency is there, always it's a problem. Correct or not? Usually any case, any work, sir, if the dependency is there, then it's always a problem. If we are independent, then automatically there should not be a problem, right? Okay, this is suppose best example. If you are taking the flat, okay, if you are taking one apartment, 2 BHK or 3 BHK, like you are taking inside apartment, you are taking independent house. Which thing you may feel more comfortable? Are you getting right? Independent house. Because in the apartment, if you took n number of constraints we require to bear. Are you getting? So water, common water facility or common maintenance or common lift, common. N number of is nothing but we require to coordinate like anything. Then only the things are going to be worked out. Are you getting right? Next in the sometime even in the apartments. There is some elections will be there. Who is the president of this apartment? Who is the vice president of this apartment? N number of issues, politics and so on, right? But suppose if I am taking independent house, suppose usually in our villages, everyone having the independent house, then there should not be a problem at all. Suppose here within the apartment, for my house, if several people are coming, today there is a function, several people are coming, then automatically apartment president is going to come. Lift usage is more. No, you should not use. Are you getting? N number of constraints we require to work because we are depending. But independent house, so no one is going to constrain. Are you getting? So less dependency, more dependency. Usually, which is a good programming practice? Less dependency or more dependency? Less dependency is a good programming practice. So more dependency, tightly coupling is the worst kind of programming practice because it has several disadvantages are there. Sir, at coding level, forget about all these layman example. Coding level, what problems are there? Very simple. Just observe here what problems I can show n number of problems here. First problem anna. Here A depending on B. B depending on C, C depending on D. Okay, suppose tomorrow, if I am changing the value of 10 as 20, if I am changing the value of 10 as the 20, then how many people are going to be affected? All the people, right? Because for all these people earlier the value is a 10, but now what is the value? 20. Sir, I changed it here. Why all the people are going to be affected? Because all these people are depending on this component. That's why. So without affecting remaining components, we can't modify any component. That's why. So enhancement will become difficult. Correct or no? Sir, if I make a small change, this change will be reflected automatically for several people, then it's a big problem, right? So without affecting remaining component, we can't modify any component. Enhancement will become very difficult. Correct or not? Enhancement will become difficult, right? Enhancement will become difficult. First one. Second problem here is take very special care. Second problem is sir, suppose I require this functionality somewhere. Assume 10,000 lines of the code is there or 10 lines of the code is there. Sir, I want to reuse this functionality somewhere. Then I will ask, A class, can you please come with me? A class, can you please come with me? Can you please come with me? Because so I require to use somewhere. Can you please come with me? Like I told. Then automatically this A class is going to tell Durga, I can come, no problem at all. Okay, Durga, I can come, no problem at all. You can reuse me anywhere, wherever you require. But one thing you should remember, if you want to use me, compulsory B must be required. Then only I can work properly because I am depending on the B. In the last second, this person told about the dependency. Then I asked B, can you please come? Because I require A functionality. But A will work if and only if you are there. That's why B, can you please come? Durga, no problem, I will come. Like B also told, get ready, we have to travel somewhere, we have to reuse somewhere. Then in the last second B told, boss, if C is there, then only I can work. If C is there, then only I can work. Then I asked her, C, can you please come? Like then in the last second C is going to tell, if D is there, then only I can come. To use A class functionality of 10 lines, I have to bring B class, C class, D class, reusability, all these things I don't want, boss. These are 10 lines, right? I will rewrite there. I don't want to take this much risk, then I will rewrite this functionality wherever it is required. So this approach suppresses reusability of the code. Correct or not? So here, wherever A is required, you can't use A functionality because A is depending on B is depending on C is depending on D. That's why, sir, wherever A functionality required, we can't use only A functionality. All the remaining people are required. I don't want to take that much risk. But what that functionality required, I will rewrite once again. I don't want to reuse this component, right? Is nothing but it suppresses reusability of the code. Correct or not? Reusability concept is going to be down because of this dependency, right? Next one, after the third one, maintainability of the application is going to be reduced or not? Yes, because changes you can't perform. All these things is nothing but maintainability of the application is going to be down. I hope you people can aware. That's why, because of these many problems, highly recommended to go for loosely coupling. The dependency between the components should be as less as possible. That is, loosely coupling is a good programming practice. Clear for all of you? So higher level, design patterns level, frameworks level, this type of terminology will come into the picture. Loosely coupling. So this framework supports loosely coupling. That's why this framework is a good programming practice. Are you getting? So coupling, cohesion, a bit higher level, advanced level concepts are these, right? Clear for all of you, right? Okay, at this point. Yeah, at the point. So example. Sir, take this example. Class A Class A, Class B, Class C. Take clearly. Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. D, right. A, B, C, D. Take clearly all. I hope is clear. Completed, right? Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. Okay. Next point. The above components are said to be. The above components are said to be. The above components are said to be tightly coupled with each other. The above components are said to be tightly coupled with each other. The above components are said to be tightly coupled with each other because dependency between the components is more. 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 Next para. Tightly coupling is not a good programming practice. Tightly coupling is not a good programming practice. Tightly coupling is not a good programming practice because it has several serious disadvantages. Tightly coupling is not a good programming practice because it has several serious disadvantages. Disadvantages. Okay. First one. Without affecting remaining components, we can't modify. Without affecting remaining components, we can't modify any component. Without affecting remaining components, we can't modify any component. We can't modify any component. Without affecting remaining components, we can't modify any component. And hence enhancement will become difficult. Next, second one. Sir, what is the second problem? We discussed already. What is that second problem? It suppresses reusability. Are you getting it? It suppresses reusability. It suppresses reusability. It suppresses reusability. Next, third one. Suppresses reusability. Third one. It reduces maintainability of the application. It reduces maintainability of the application. That's all. Are you able to understand, right? Okay, this is, so what is coupling, what is tightly coupling, loosely coupling, what are various problems with tightly coupling? That's why loosely coupling is a good programming practice. Sir, we have to maintain dependency between the components is as less as possible. Sir, dependency, less dependency, more dependency, which is a good programming practice. Less dependency, right? Okay, add next para. Hence, we have to maintain. Hence, we have to maintain dependency between the components. We have to maintain dependency between the components. Dependency between the components. Dependency between the components as less as possible. Hence, we have to maintain dependency between the components as less as possible. As less as possible. As less as possible. That is loosely coupling. That is loosely coupling. Loosely coupling is a good programming practice. That is loosely coupling is a good programming practice. Loosely coupling is a good programming practice. Is a good programming practice. That's all. Are you able to understand, right? Okay. So this is about coupling. Okay. This is. Now the next concept what we have to discuss. What is the next one? Cohesion. Okay. Keep subheading cohesion. Sir, here can you tell? I hope you people may heard this word in your intermediate first year physics, third unit. Cohesive forces, adhesive forces. Ayo, intermediate physics, somewhere you may heard cohesive forces, adhesive forces. No? Huh? Yes. So what is cohesion? Can I spell out what is the cohesion? Cohesive forces like high cohesion, low cohesion, MVC design pattern or MVC based frameworks follow high cohesion. What is the meaning of cohesion? Starts is the best example for high cohesion. Next, spring MVC is the best example for high cohesion. What is the cohesion first? Yes, here simple. For every component, a clear well-defined functionality. A clear well-defined functionality if we define. So this component meant for database operations. This component meant for logging operation. This component meant for presentation logic. This component meant for business logic. Like have you observed, for every component a clear well-defined functionality, if we define such a type of component is said to be follow high cohesion. Are you getting right? Okay, this is what is high cohesion? A clear well-defined functionality required for every component. Such a type of component is said to be follow high cohesion. Is it clear for all of you? Sir, it's a specialized component for database operations. It is a specialized component for log operation. Specialized component for so and so activity. For every component, a clear well-defined functionality available or defined, such type of component is said to be follow high cohesion. Clear for all of you? So what is cohesion? Okay, this is. So low cohesion. Sir, clear functionality is not there. It defines some mixed functionality. It is nothing but low cohesion. Sir, clear well-defined functionality is available. High cohesion. High cohesion, low cohesion. Which is a good programming practice? High cohesion is always a good programming practice. Clear, well-defined functionality must be required. Why it is a good programming practice? With the example I will explain. First, at this point, for every component, a clear, well-defined functionality. For every component, a clear, well-defined functionality. For every component, a clear, well-defined functionality. A clear, well-defined functionality is required. For every component, a clear, well-defined functionality is required. A clear, well-defined functionality is defined. Better to use the word defined. A clear, well-defined functionality is defined. Then that component is said to be. Then that component is said to be. Then that component is said to be follow then that component is said to be follow high cohesion. Then that component is said to be follow high cohesion. Then that component is said to be follow high cohesion. Are you getting that? So what is cohesion? What is high cohesion? Is a clear, sir, for every component a clear well-defined functionality is required. Such a type of component is said to be follow what? High cohesion, right? Clear for all of you, right? Okay, now high cohesion is always a good programming practice because it has several advantages are there. What advantages? What is high cohesion? Just observe. Sir, I want to design one application. I want to design one mail sending application. I want to design just like our Gmail. I want to design my own application. In the Gmail application, can you please tell the required functionality? So login page I have to display. Once I enter username and password, then it has to validate. If it is correct, then my inbox page I have to get. Next, once I got inbox page, I have to check my mails and I can reply back. I can compose a new mail. Next, I can see send a mail. Like n number of activities are required in that application. What I can do? For all these activities, I can define only one servlet. Total web application, I can define within only one servlet. So here just observe the name of that servlet also. Wonderful name I want to give. The name of that servlet also total servlet. The name of that servlet is what? Total servlet like. So this is clear. Total servlet like. All. Sir, login page display. Login page display. This servlet is the responsible. The same servlet is the responsible for validation also. Validation logic. Next, display inbox page. Display reply page. Display compose page. Display error page. Dot. Sir, whatever functionality you require in your mail sending application, all those things I can define by using a single servlet. The name of that servlet is nothing but total servlet. Wonderful name. Yeah, total servlet is nothing but like. Sir, how many lines of the code is there inside this servlet? Is almost around 70 lakhs lines of code is there. Okay, 70 lakhs lines of code is there. Okay, assume I designed such type of beautiful servlet. Okay, this is like this. I developed, I deployed that. It's working good. Okay, my required functionality I'm getting. But the problem here is this one is not at all good programming practice. Because so a clear well-defined functionality not defined, because all the functionality we can define by using a single servlet not good. What problems are there? This type of thing is by default considered as low cohesion. So this one is nothing but what? Low cohesion. Because clear well-defined functionality missing. Total mixed functionality we can define by using a single servlet, low cohesion. Sir, what problems are there? Okay, what problems are there? First problem is look and feel of login page. Have you observed login page? You have to enter username and password. Look and feel of login page, we have to change frequently. Correct or not? Because forever same look and feel not good, and user may not feel that much comfortable. Occasionally we require to change look and feel of login page. So what we have to do? Okay, this is if you want to. So for every 10 days or 15 days or for every 2 months or 3 months, colors we require to change or look and feel occasionally. So related festival related, so wishes are, so these kind of images we have to place. If you want to make a small change in the login functionality, because login functionality is available where? Inside total servlet. Redesign of total servlet must be required. Recompile, redesign of total servlet must be required. So enhancement is not that much easy, because in the 70 lakhs lines of the code, which code is responsible for login activity, I have to identify. In that, change the color, and automatically is there any effect for the remaining, we have to cross check. Like so do you know, a small change also very difficult to perform if 70 lakh lines of the code is there in a single servlet type. Are you getting? So first problem here is what problem we are facing? enhancement will become very difficult. Correct or not? Enhancement will become very difficult, right? Second problem, suppose this validation logic required somewhere. Validation logic is a matter of 10 lines of the code. Matter of 10 lines of the code required somewhere. What I have to use this validation logic, 10 lines of the code. So you can't use it directly. You have to bring 70 lakh lines of servlet. Then only these 10 lines of the code by default available. So for the matter of 10 lines of the code, bringing 70 lakh lines of the code, is it a good programming practice? No. Sir, 70 lakh lines of the code I can't bear. Those 10 lines of the code I can rewrite on my own. Is nothing. Reusability is going to be down. Are you getting? Next, maintainability of the application is going to be down. Are you getting? N number of problems are there if I follow this type of designing. Okay, this is what I have to do. Is nothing but simple. What I have to do? Yes, sir. Total functionality don't define within a single servlet. For every functionality, so maintain a separate component. Are you getting? Sir, login page, login.jsp. Validation logic is required. Validate servlet. Inbox page is required. Inbox.jsp. For every separate functionality, better to maintain a separate component. Okay, I want to redesign the same servlet in this style. Now observe this one. Sir, I am taking here login page, login.jsp. Have you observed login page, login.jsp? Now enter username and password and then submit button. Whenever you click this one, then the request will come to validate servlet. Are you getting? The request will come to validate servlet. In the validate servlet, okay, if in the validate servlet, if so is success, if it is a success, display inbox.jsp. If the credentials are wrong, then automatically display error.jsp. Error.jsp. Next, sir, from the inbox, if I click reply.jsp, if I compose.jsp, dot like. Are you getting? Sir, can you tell, is it a good programming practice or not? Is it a good programming practice or not? Yes. What is the problem? What is the advantage? Here, this type of thing is by default considered as what? High cohesion. Sir, what is the advantage of this approach? For every functionality, for every component, clear well-defined functionality is there. Login.jsp meant for login page display. Validate servlet meant for validation logic. Are you getting? Inbox.jsp meant for display inbox mails. Is nothing but like this type of approach is always good programming practice. What is the advantage here is, suppose tomorrow I want to change look and feel of login page. Are you getting? If I am performing any change here, is there any effect on the remaining components? No. Without affecting remaining components, happily we can perform any type of change here. That's why. So enhancement will become what? Easy for me. Next, wherever validation logic is required, happily we can reuse same validate servlet, matter of 10 lines of the code only. Happily you can reuse this component wherever it is required. Reusability is going to be improved. Are you getting? Reusability is going to be promoted, right? Third one, maintainability of the application also will become easy. Sir, login module, one person is responsible to maintain. Next one after that, inbox module, another person is responsible to maintain. Validation module, another person is responsible to maintain. Like, so it will become, is nothing but have you observed? Validation, so maintainability of the application is going to be improved. Clear for all of you, right? So low cohesion, high cohesion, which is a good programming practice. High cohesion or low cohesion? High cohesion is a good programming practice. Best example for high cohesion is, so MVC. Are you getting right? MVC, model 1, model 2 frameworks, you have right, MVC model 2. Okay, here. Sir, why MVC model 2 came into the picture? Because if presentation logic, business logic mixed, a number of problems we are facing. That's why I want to separate presentation logic into view component. I want to separate business component, business logic into model component. To coordinate these two, a special component coordinator came into the picture. Controller component came into the picture. So have you observed? View component meant for presentation logic. Controller component meant for controlling logic. Are you getting? Model component meant for business logic. Is it clear for all of you? So such type of design is always a good programming practice. N number of advantages are there with that. Is it clear, right? So this type of thing is by default considered cohesion, right? High cohesion is always a good programming practice. Are you getting? So for every component, a clear, well-defined functionality must be required. Such type of component is said to be follow high cohesion. Okay, take both examples side by side. Low cohesion, high cohesion. Take clearly first this one and then that. Low cohesion, high cohesion. Completed, right? Low cohesion, high cohesion. Okay. Low cohesion, high cohesion. I hope that terminology is very clear for you people. Low cohesion, like clear, right? Take both login.jsp, validate servlet. Next error.jsp, inbox reply compose, like completed, I hope. Okay, completed. Next, add the theory. High cohesion. High cohesion. Have you kept these words right? Here high cohesion and this one is what? Low cohesion. Next, high cohesion is always a good programming practice. High cohesion is always a good programming practice. Is always a good programming practice because it has high cohesion is always a good programming practice because it has several advantages. Because it has several advantages. First one, without affecting remaining components, without affecting remaining components, without affecting remaining components, we can modify. Without affecting remaining components, we can modify. We can modify any component. Without affecting remaining components, we can modify any component. We can modify any component. Any component. Hence, enhancement will become. Hence, enhancement will become easy. Enhancement will become easy. Enhancement will become easy. Okay, first one. Next, second point. Enhancement will become easy. Okay, first. Second one. Second, enhancement will become easy. Okay, second point. It promotes reusability of the code. 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 Reusability of the code within bracket. Wherever validation is required, we can reuse. Wherever validation is required, we can reuse the same validate servlet. Wherever validation is required, we can reuse the same validate servlet without rewriting. Wherever validation logic is required, we can reuse the same validate servlet without rewriting. Okay, like second point. Next, the third one. Okay, it improves maintainability of the application. It improves maintainability of the application. That's all. Are you getting? So this is about what is cohesion, what is high cohesion, and why high cohesion is a good programming practice. Okay, this is so tightly coupling, loosely coupling, which is a good programming practice. Loosely coupling. High cohesion, low cohesion, which is a good programming practice. High or low? High cohesion is a good programming practice, right? Okay, take a note. Loosely coupling and high cohesion. Loosely coupling and high cohesion. High cohesion are loosely coupling and high cohesion are good programming practices. Loosely coupling and high cohesion are good programming practices. Good programming practices. That's all. Are you able to understand, right? Okay, this is. So what is coupling, what is cohesion? These are the two advanced features related to the OOPs only. These are also OOP features like polymorphism, encapsulation, but make sure you people should have clear clarity. Okay, a bit advanced level, design patterns level, spring level, frameworks level. So you people may heard about this one. At a basic OOPs, these features won't be there, but basic idea compulsory you people should aware. Okay, that's all. So the next one what I have to discuss. So object typecasting. So it's a very simple, but so just only 3 mantras are there. If you people are familiar with these 3 mantras, nothing is there in the object typecasting. So first, what is the need? What is the what these 3 rules we have to discuss. First, observe, keep subheading object typecasting. And a primitive typecasting, you remember that part we discussed already in the operators concept. Now object typecasting. Object typecasting. Sir, before discussing object typecasting, there are 2 points you people should aware. Okay, what is the first one? Have you remembered somewhere in the last classes repeatedly we are using parent reference can be used to hold child object, correct or not? Parent reference can be used to hold child object. So sir, if I can take like object O is equal to new string of Durga. Sir, can you tell is it valid or not? String is the child, object is the parent. Parent reference can be used to hold child object, right? Next term, interface reference can be used to hold implemented class object, correct or not? Okay, best example, runnable R is equal to new thread. Runnable R is equal to new thread. Runnable is an interface, thread is its implemented class. Are you getting? Because these points also you should be aware. Sir, parent reference is allowed or not? Interface reference is allowed or not? You people should be aware, and then we will talk about typecasting, right? First at this point, at these points, object typecasting, under that add these two. We can use parent reference. We can use a parent reference. We can use parent reference to hold a child object. We can use a parent reference to hold a child object. Parent reference to hold a child object. Parent reference to hold a child object. Child object. Example. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Valid. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Next one. Next. We can use interface reference. We can use interface reference. We can use interface reference to hold. We can use interface reference to hold. Interface reference to hold implemented class object. To hold implemented class object. Implemented class object. Example. Runnable R is equal to new thread. Runnable R is equal to new thread. Runnable R is equal to new thread. Like, are you able to get right? Okay, this is so object typecasting. Okay, so these 2 points you people should aware. Now I have one small doubt. Okay, you have to here just observe. Sir, I'm taking object O is equal to new string of object O is equal to new string of Durga. Object O, new string of Durga. Next, here see string buffer SB is equal to string buffer SB is equal to string buffer SB is equal to string buffer of O. String buffer SB, string buffer of O. Can you tell is it a valid typecasting or not? Ayyo, is it a valid typecasting or not? Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Next, string buffer SB is equal to new string buffer of O. Valid or invalid? Valid or not? If it is the valid, there is no other question. If it is invalid, is it compile time error or runtime exception? If it is compile time error, is it incompatible types or inconvertible types? If it is a runtime exception, class cast exception? Ayyo, is it valid or invalid? Invalid. Compile time error or runtime exception? Compile time error. What compile time error? Incompatible types or inconvertible types? Or runtime exception? Or no exception, it is the valid. Okay, make sure, even I too don't know. Okay, leave that. Okay, just after few minutes you can able to answer anyway with full confidence. So how many people are feeling it is valid? Valid. Good. No one is feeling. How many people are feeling it is compiled time error? Compiled time error. Make sure you should aware that point. At last you have to cross check whether your answer is the correct or not. How many people are feeling it is a runtime exception? No one. Good. Okay, at last at the end you have to cross check whether your answer is the correct or not. But anyway, sir, observe what is the syntax of typecasting. Class name, variable name, once again class name, last one is nothing but what? Variable. So can I represent a b c d like I'm taking? Sir, can you tell, is it a valid syntax for typecasting or not? Valid syntax for typecasting or not? So A, B, C, D format is this one. A is either class or interface name. Either class name or interface name. Either class name or interface name. Okay, like B is name of reference variable. Name of reference variable. And what is this C? Once again, C is nothing but what? Either class or interface name. Either class name or interface name. Next, what is this D? What is the D? D is nothing but what is the D? D itself is nothing but what? Either reference variable name. Reference variable name. Reference variable name. Okay. Now A, B, C, D. Now this is the syntax. Now in this syntax, what we are doing? Sir, through typecasting, what we are doing? Observe this one. Sir, I am trying to convert D object to C type. I am trying to convert D object to C type. Under that C type, we are assigning to A type reference variable. Correct or not? Two activities I am doing. What is the first activity? What is the first activity? Trying to convert D object to C type. Under this C type object, I am trying to assign to the A type reference variable or not. Are you getting that? Okay, this. So here compiler is going to check two conditions. JVM will check one condition. Total how many conditions are there? Three conditions. If these three conditions are satisfied, then this typecasting is nothing but valid. What compiler will check? What JVM will check? That part I will discuss. First, take the syntax. A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. So A is nothing but class or interface name. B is nothing but name of reference variable. C, class or interface name. D itself is reference variable name. Reference variable name. Okay, like A, B, C, D, like. I hope is it clear, right? Class or interface name of reference variable, class or interface name, reference variable name, like clear, I hope up to this. Okay, now here the theory, here the theoretical point. I mean just observe. So here, can you tell through typecasting, can you tell here how many activities I am doing? Two activities, right? First I am trying to convert D object to C type, and then I am assigning C type to A type reference variable, right? Compiler is going to check two conditions. First condition, is this conversion is legal or not? Second condition, is this assignment is legal or not? So compiler is going to check how many conditions ana? 2 conditions. Is this conversion is the legal or not? Is this assignment is the legal or not? Okay. How the compiler will check? Is this conversion is the legal or not? What is the rule? Compiler's rule, observe this one. The type of D, sir, type of D. D is what type? Some type. Under C must have some relation. Either child to parent or parent to child or same type. Anyway, so must have some relation. Otherwise, if relation is not there, otherwise, immediately we will get compile time error saying inconvertible types found D. Inconvertible types found D required. What is the required? C. This is the compile time error we are going to check. So first the compiler will decide, sir, is this conversion is the legal or not? What rule compiler is going to apply? D type and C must have some relation. Have you observed? So O is what type? O is what type? Object type. Object and string buffer having some relation or not? No problem at all. That's why itself is nothing but acceptable. If there is no relation, parent to child or child to parent, no relation, then immediately we will get compile time error, right? Are you getting? First keep subheading mantra 1. Keep subheading mantra 1. Total just 3 mantras are there. Mantra 1 within bracket compile time checking 1. Compile time checking 1. Compile time checking 1. Compile time checking 1. Yeah. The type of D. The type of D. The type of D. Another type of D. D. Better to take within single quote. The type of D. D within single quote. Under C. Take within single quote. C. Must have some relation. The type of D and C must have some relation. The type of D and C must have some relation. Either child to parent, or parent to child, either child to parent or parent to child, or same type. Either child to parent or parent to child, or same type. Bracket close. Otherwise we will get compile time error. Saying inconvertible types. Found D type required. C. Otherwise we will get compile time error saying inconvertible types found D type required C. Found D type required C. That's all. Are you able to understand, right? Okay, this is. So make sure you people should have clarity, right? Okay. So found D type required is nothing but C. Okay, this is. So example 1. Okay, add example 1. Take this example only. Sir, is the relation is there or not? And relation is there or not? O is what type? Object and string buffer having some relation, parent to child. That's why no problem at all. Add. Take this example. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. New string of Durga. Next string buffer SB is equal to string buffer of Okay, so make sure this one is nothing but perfectly valid. Okay, here see object O is equal to new string of Durga, string buffer SB is equal to string buffer of O, valid. Java C test dot Java, valid or not? Yes, there is no problem at all. Okay, this is no compile time error, right? Because there is a relation between O type and string buffer type. Next example 2. Listen this one. At last anyway, we will give the finishing touch about last one. Example 2. Sir, I am taking here just example 2. String S is equal to new string of Durga. String S is equal to new string of Durga. Next string buffer SB is equal to string buffer SB is equal to string buffer of S. Sir, can you tell, is it valid or invalid? Valid or invalid? Invalid, because S is what type? S is what type? String type. But this one is string buffer. String and string buffer, there is no relation. Immediately we will get compile time error saying, what is that error? Inconvertible types. Inconvertible type found D. D means what? Java.lang.string. S is what type? String type. Required is what? Java.lang.string buffer. Java.lang.string buffer. Like compile time error by default we are going to get. Have you observed? Look at this. Let me take this example, right? Now have a look once. Here I am taking, instead of object, string S, string buffer SB is equal to string buffer of S. Like this I am taking, right? Now, so Java C test.java. Observe the compile time error. Have a look once. String S is equal to string of Durga. String buffer SB is equal to string buffer of S. So compile time error we are going to get. Have you observed? Inconvertible types found java.lang.string, required java.lang.string buffer. Clear for all of you, right? Okay. Add example 2. Example 2. Only these 2 lines. String S is equal to new string of Durga. String buffer SB is equal to string buffer of S. String buffer SB is equal to string buffer of S. Yes. String buffer of S. Yes. Are you getting? String buffer of S. String S is equal to new string of Durga. String buffer SB is equal to string buffer of S. Okay. Completed, I hope. Now you add that compile time error. Inconvertible types found java.lang.string, required java.lang.string buffer. Found java.lang.string, required java.lang.string buffer. String buffer. Okay, that's all. So make sure, I hope you people aware. So condition 1 or compile time checking 1 anna. So can you spell out whether this conversion is the legal or not? How the compiler can check? Simple. Can you read? Can you repeat what the first rule anna? The type D and C must have some relation. Either child to parent or parent to child are same type. Otherwise, compile time error we are going to get saying inconvertible types. Clear for all of you, right? Up to this. Now the second point. Make sure. Okay, this point is also a bit important conclusion, right? Sir, okay, this conversion is the legal or not? We check. After converting this one, we are assigning this C to A type. Correct or not? After converting this one, we are assigning this C to A type reference variable, right? Now my point is, this C type object, if you want to assign to the A type, compulsory A should be either same as C or A should be parent of C. Are you getting? Because parent reference can be used to hold child object. That's why C must be either same or derived type of A. Derived type is nothing but what? Child type. C must be either same as A or a derived type of A. otherwise immediately compile-time error we are going to get saying incompatible types found C type required A type. Incompatible type found C type required A type. Are you able to understand that? Okay, this is sir. So the problem with assignment C should be either same as A or derived type of A. Otherwise we will get compile-time error saying incompatible type found C required A. First add mantra 2, second mantra 2 within bracket compile time checking 2, within bracket compile time checking 2 compile time checking 2, mantra 2 compile time checking 2 okay, here the point value compile time checking 2. C must be, better to take C within single quote. C must be either same or derived type of A. C must be either same or derived type of A. C must be either same or derived type of A. Otherwise we will get compile-time error. Saying incompatible types. Incompatible types found C required A. Incompatible types found C required A. Found C required A. Are you getting? So this is the compile-time error, right? Next example 1. Sir, here just observe. Sir, here rule is satisfied or not? Now first rule. The type of D, object and string buffer relation is there. Second rule, string buffer is the same or derived type of string buffer was same. That's why no problem at all, itself is valid. Okay, add example 1. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. String buffer SB is equal to string buffer SB is equal to string buffer of O. Sir, satisfied. Have you observed? The rule got satisfied, right? No problem at all, itself is valid. Sir, 1 minute. Legend this point well. Here have you observed? Here just the same thing. Let me take. Sir, observe. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. String buffer SB is equal to string buffer of O. Valid or not? Sir, O is object type. Object and string buffer having relation. String buffer same as string buffer. No problem at all. That's why valid. No compile-time error. So it's a very clear because both conditions got satisfied. Now I want to make a small change for this code. It's my second example, right? Legend this one. Sir, second example I am taking. String object, here see. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Next, string buffer SB is equal to string of O. I am taking string of O. Sir, O is what type? Object and string both are having relation or not? Yes, both are having relation, no problem at all. Next, string and string buffer. Sir, string is the child class of string buffer? No. String is the child class of string buffer? No. So immediately, do you know, compile-time error by default we are going to get. Okay, this because it is not child of string buffer. That's why what compile-time error we will get. Can I spell out what is that exact compile-time error? Incompatible types found java.lang.string required what? Java.lang.string buffer, right? Are you able to understand, right? Okay, this is so what compile time error by default we are going to get a clear indication what you people should aware, right? Okay, this is add example 2. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. New string of Durga. String buffer SB is equal to string of O. String buffer SB is equal to string of O. So we will get compile time error saying incompatible types found java.lang.string required java.lang.string buffer. Required java.lang.string buffer. That's all. These are the two rules checked by compiler. These are the two conditions which are checked by the compiler. Hope is clear for all of you, right? Okay. Can you spell out what is the first condition? What is the first condition? The type of D and the C must have some relation. Okay, like next second, otherwise if there is no relation, inconvertible types, compile time error. Second condition, C must be either same or derived type of A. Okay, this is otherwise we will get compile time error saying incompatible types. Clear for all of you, right? Let me compile this one and let me show this compile time error, right? Okay, 1 minute. Here, see this point. Okay, here see object O is equal to new string of Durga. String buffer SB is equal to string buffer of O. Is it valid or not? Valid or not? Valid, no problem at all. Here see this one. So string buffer, have you observed? O string buffer, object and string buffer relation. String buffer same. That's why no problem at all. The code compiles fine. Java say test.java. Okay, like valid itself is the valid, right? Okay, this is now see this. Sir, I am taking here just object O is equal to new string of Durga. String buffer SB is equal to string of O. Sir, O is what type? Object type. Object and string having some relation, no problem at all. But a string is not child of string buffer or not the same as a string buffer. That's why immediately compile time error by default we are going to get saying, have you observed what that compile time error? Java incompatible types found a string but required is nothing but what? String buffer. Any explanation is required. That's all. These are the two conditions checked by compiler, right? Sir, have you observed? Compiler is always going to check only reference types. Sir, O is what type? Object type. Next string buffer reference types. But JVM is going to check underlying object type. Runtime object is always going to be checked by what? JVM. Just a reference variable types is always going to be checked by compiler, right? Now up to this we covered compile time rules. Only 2 rules are there. But JVM only 1 rule. Keep supporting. Mantra 3 within bracket, mantra 3 within bracket, runtime checking within bracket, runtime checking, mantra 3 runtime checking. Sir, here simple, legend this point well. Underlying object type of D. Sir, runtime object type of D. Sir, here O is what type? Object type. But what is underlying object type? Underlying object is nothing but this one. We use a new operator for which? String. Underlying object type is nothing but what? String. Make sure you should aware. Let me repeat once again. Underlying object type of D. Underlying object type of D must be either same or derived type of C. Are you getting? Underlying object type of D must be either same or derived type of C. Otherwise, we will get runtime exception saying class cast exception. Otherwise, we will get runtime exception saying class cast exception, right? Make sure you should aware. So, whenever I ask her first time whether it is valid or not, majority of the people told compile time errors are right. No compile time error, but the problem is at runtime. Can you please check what is underlying object type of string? Is a string the child class of string buffer? No. That's why what exception by default we are going to get? Class cast exception, right? Are you able to understand? Runtime checking is always based on runtime object. That's why JVM is always going to consider importance for runtime objects, not for reference types. Okay, this add runtime object type of D. Runtime object type of D. Runtime object type of D. Better to take D within single quote. Runtime object type of D must be either same or derived type of C. Must be either same or derived type of C. Must be either same or derived type of C. Derived type of C. Otherwise, we will get runtime exception. Otherwise, we will get runtime exception saying. Otherwise, we will get runtime exception saying. What that exception? We will get runtime exception saying class cast exception. Otherwise, we will get runtime exception saying class cast exception. Single word. Class cast exception. Class cast exception. Do you know? Here observe. Sir, compile time rules both are satisfied. Sir, O is what type? Object and string buffer. Relation is there. String buffer same. A second rule also satisfied. Underlying object type of O, string. String is not child of string buffer. So that's why immediately we will get runtime exception saying what is that exception? Class cast exception. Have you observed? Class cast exception colon. Legend this one. Class cast exception colon. What is a runtime object type of O? String, right? Java.lang.string cannot be cast to java.lang.string cannot be cast to java.lang.string buffer. Are you getting? Cannot be cast to java.lang.string buffer like. I hope you people can aware clearly, right? Sir, cannot be cast to java.lang.string buffer. Clear for all of you, right? Okay, this is make sure you people should have clear clarity, right? Okay, so this is, let me execute this code. 1 minute. Here see, sir, I'm taking object O is equal to new string of Durga. String buffer SP is equal to string buffer of O. No compile time error value. Let me run this code. Java test. Have you observed? Exception in thread main. What is that exception? Exception in thread main. What is that exception? Class cast exception. Java.lang.string cannot be cast to java.lang.string buffer. Are you able to understand? Cannot be cast to java.lang.string buffer. Is it clear for all of you? Okay, this is, make sure you people should aware clearly. Add example 1. Have you added runtime theory, right? Theory we added, right? Next, example 1. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. String buffer SP is equal to string buffer of O. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. string buffer SB is equal to string buffer of O. We will get runtime exception saying class cast exception java.lang.string cannot be cast to string buffer. Java.lang.string cannot be cast to string buffer. String buffer. Completed, I hope. Cannot be cast to string buffer. That's all. This is about rule 3. Let me cover one more example. Completed, right? Now here example 2. You have to decide whether it is valid or not. Sir, I am taking string S. 1 minute on. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Next, object O is equal to string of O. I am taking object O1 is equal to string of O. Can you tell, is it valid or not? Condition 1. O is what type? Object and string relation is there, valid. Condition 2, string is the child class of object, valid. Condition 3, underlying object type, runtime object type of O is what? String and string both are same or not? That's why this one is nothing but perfectly valid, no problem at all. Are you getting? So if you want, just let me execute this code. Can you spell out? Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Next, object O1 is equal to string of O. Like now observe, 1 minute. So the code compiles fine. Now the code runs fine, no problem at all. Okay, this add example 2. Object O is equal to new string of Durga. Object O1 is equal to new object O1 is equal to string of O. Perfectly valid, no problem at all. I hope clear for all of you, right? That's all. These are the 3 mantras you people should aware related to typecasting, right? Okay, you people should have clarity. So are you able to understand 3 rules, right? Compiler is going to check only 2 rules. JVM will check what? 1 rule. Now let me explain some examples based on these 3 rules. Here see, I am taking, observe this example well. Sir, I have object class is there. Sir, object class is there. This object class contain 2 child classes are there, base 1 and base 2. Observe this one, base 1, base 2. Base 1 contain 2 child classes, derived 1 and derived 2. Derived 1 and derived 2. And here derived 3 and derived 4. Are you getting? Object base 1, base 2, derived 1, derived 2, derived 3, derived 4, like 4 classes are there. Now my target here is, sir, here I am taking just object here base 2b is equal to new derived 4. Base 2b is equal to new derived 4, like I am taking. Now my target is, sir, here first one, object O is equal to base 2 of b or not. Object O is equal to base 2 of b or not. Next, object O is equal to base 1 of B or not. Next, object O is equal to derived 3 of B or not. Next, base 2 B1 is equal to base 1 of B or not. Next, base 1 B1 is equal to so here derived 4 of B or not, like I am taking. You have to decide whether these are valid or not. If it is valid, no problem. If it is invalid, compile time error or runtime exception. If it is a compile time error, inconvertible types or incompatible types, or class cast exception, runtime exception, you have to decide. Sir, can you tell what is about first one? Valid or invalid? Simple. All the 3 rules apply. Sir, rule 1, B is what type? Base 2, same. Base 2 is the child of object, same. B, runtime object is what type? Runtime object is what type? Derived 4. Derived 4 is the child of base 2 or not? Yes, that's why. First one, no problem at all. First example itself is no issue at all. Next, second one, B is what type? Base 2. Base 2, base 1, is there any relation? No. First condition only fails. Okay. What that compile time error we will get? Inconvertible types found. Which one found? B is what type? Base 2 required base 1. Okay. Next, object O is equal to derived 3 of B. Can you tell B is what type? Base 2. And this one is nothing but what? Derived 3. Base 2 derived 3 having some relation or not? Base 2 derived 3 having relation. Derived 3 is the child of object or not? Yes. Derived 3 is the child of object, satisfied. B, underlying object, what is that one? Derived 4. Derived 4 and derived 3, is there any relation? No. Immediately we will get what? Class cast exception. Okay, well. Next, this one. You have to decide valid or invalid. B is what type? Base 2. Base 2 and base 1 having some relation? No. Same compile time error, I hope. Correct, right? Same compile time error we will get. B is what type? Base 2. Base 2 and derived 4 relation is there. Next, derived 4 is the child class of base 1. Derived 4 is the child of base 1? No. Immediately compile time error. What is that error? Incompatible types found. Incompatible types found what? Found derived 4 required base 1. Like we have. Are you getting? Next, let me add 1 or 2 more options. Here I am taking object O is equal to base 1. Object O is equal to base 1 of B I am taking. I hope this is already covered. 1 minute. Already covered. Object O is equal to base 1. So here base 1 B1 is equal to base 1 B1 is equal to derived 1 of B. Okay. You can able to tell, is it a valid or invalid? Base b1 is equal to derived 1 of b, valid or invalid? Invalid. What problem you know? B is what type? Base 2. Base 2 and derived 1, is there any relation? No. Immediately comparative error you are going to get, saying what is that error? Inconvertible types. Inconvertible type found which one? Found b. B means what? Base 2 required what? Derived 1. Like, okay, take this example, most valuable. Just 3 rules we are using. How to use all the 3 rules, you should have clear clarity. Have clear clarity. So take all these things. In convertible types, found base 2 required base 1. Take clearly. Completed, I hope. Okay, that's all. So